welcome everybody to our talk at Greyhope Bay for Climate Week Northeast. My name is Rachel, this is Carol. We work here at Greyhope Bay, and we're also very fortunate to be joined by TechFest today as well, who have been facilitating the live stream of the event. So if you're joining us online, a very warm welcome to you too. So our talk today, Off-Grid and Green, discover Greyhope Bay's journey as an off-grid eco-visitor attraction. It really is a reflection for us. So we have been open for just going on a year now. It's going to be a year next week. And there has been some trials, there's been some tribulations, there's been some lessons learned while we've been open, especially operating off-grid. To say that it's been easy the whole time, well, it hasn't been, but certainly we've taken some time to learn from what has been going on, and we really want to be able to share that with you guys today, and also look forward to the future as well and let you in on what's going to be coming next for us as an organisation. So if you're new to us, if you're maybe not familiar with the work that Greyhope Bay do, we're just going to kind of go through that just to give you a brief introduction to who we are as an organisation. So Greyhope Bay is a charity. We exist primarily to help people connect with the coastline. So our location at Torrey Battery, where the centre is pretty well placed to do this. The battery itself is steeped in local heritage. It's an amazing place to visit. It's an old army barrack, but it's also got this amazing view out to the headland out the window as well. And it happens to be one of the best places in the UK, if not Europe, to spot bottlenose dolphins from land. They're here nigh on every day, and they really do help us to capture people's imagination when it comes to those coastal connections. So we thought, just before we really get into the nitty-gritty of the talk, it'd be really good to just introduce ourselves properly, what we do for the organisation. So Carol, I'll let you take it from here if you want to tell everybody a little bit about your role within the organisation.
So my name's Carol, and I'm the program manager, and I also manage sustainability here. I have been with the project since 2019. So I was involved with the project previous to the centre being built and open, and I was working with Fiona to fundraise and to gain ground on providing, the foundation to actually build here at Torrey Battery. And so at the moment, that's what I've been doing, and doing quite a lot actually, and working with you. So
yeah, sure.
You can introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, of course. So I am the Learning and Engagement Officer for the site. I joined the team in June of last year. And since then, I've been helping Carol to build and develop our public programs. So we have a lot of events going on within the centre, to things like art classes. I run guided beachcombing and rock pooling tours. I'm also very much involved in the education aspects of the site as well. So we launched our schools programme early in the year. So we did have a group of school kids into the centre yesterday. We were down on the beach, we were exploring the surrounding areas. And again, we're really looking at capturing those coastal connections with the school groups that come and visit us as well. So it's been a really exciting period for getting started within that role and kind of seeing that development of the programme and how we can get people involved with the site. And so kind of moving on from that, we're kind of going to go into a little bit about how the project came to be, what our roots are grounded in. And Carol has been involved in the project since 2019. She was really involved in the build of the project and the fundraising, as you mentioned. So would you like to take everybody through how we came to be?
Yeah, sure, of course. So the project founder is Dr. Fiona McIntyre, and she had the idea quite a while ago. Yeah. I think the story goes it was 10 years ago.
10 years.
When she was working out of the Marine Lab here in Torrey, that she kind of saw the potential for the site and had an idea to develop something here. And so fast forward, years later, the project was growing arms and legs, and so initially it was meant to be built, or the idea was that it might be built at Greyhope Bay, which is where we have the name from. And after a period of community consultation and then just speaking with people within the community, it was actually identified that this site would be a better spot because, well, the view is amazing and it just felt like the right place for the centre to pop up. So the plans are made to be here. This is a 5-year pilot project, if you will. So we've got this kind of temporary aspect of this project to prove it, and then we will be going into a second phase after that first 5 years to see where this project can go from here. What we are talking about here obviously today is this off-grid and green part. So I think that the location of the center is very important to that. So maybe not everybody knows what we mean when we say off-grid.
Yeah.
Basically, that just means that we have no mains power and we're not on the water grid either. So we're operating here. We operate a very busy cafe. If anyone's ever had the opportunity to come up, and we have to do all of that basically independently. And what we've been able to do is actually quite impressive, because it's been a huge team effort, and a lot of pieces have come together to make it possible. And I think that's what I'm going to kind of go into now, and just talk about all the different pieces, because this is where a big part of the sustainability of this project does come in, because we are operating off of pretty close to 100% green energy. We were really fortunate very early on in the project development to be approached by JCE Energy, and they came and donated a bespoke power system to us. So basically what that means is when you come to the site, you'll see that we have solar panels on the roof, and those solar panels are driving energy to a very large battery that's within the cafe. And then that power is operating our cafe, which has a coffee machine and a kettle, and we can run hot water from the taps, and we also can turn lights on. Doesn't seem like much, but it was actually a very big team effort to make that possible, to have enough power to do that, especially when it comes to the coffee machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because actually, which was very, very fundamental.
Yeah, they take a lot of power.
They do. They take a lot of power. So there was a lot of learning to understand exactly how we were going to make the lovely, flat whites and cappuccinos that are available here with the power of the battery and coming from the solar panels. And that's actually just been solved by having a technology of I keep looking at it so our people can't see what I'm looking at, but the cafe is actually just behind the camera. We have a very large coffee machine, and it's actually all quite analog. So the barista has to compress the coffee by hand. The water is heated by a propane flame. So these are the different ways that we could get around saving energy and then being able to operate off the
get quite creative with it, didn't we?
Definitely. So that's kind of part of it. But so to get into the water, we are equipped here to collect rainwater, and we have our own filtration system on site. That was brought to us by Pure Water Scotland, who was also very generous and donated that technology. It's an ozone water filtration system, which actually brings water up to above safe, standard safe drinking water levels. And we are equipped to collect rainwater. However, it doesn't always work exactly like we want it to be. And surprisingly, we don't get that much rain.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it looking outside today, would you?
People think that, maybe associate this spot with being very rainy and wet, but there's parts of the year that we don't have quite the water levels we need, so we do need to bring water in. So we're looking at ways to change that. What else can I say about that? I guess
the setting we're in itself, the containers, themselves, the sensor, it's comprised of 2 shipping containers that we had to get in.
So the shipping containers were given to the project by Greenwell. They're just based locally, very near to here, and they're 2 40-foot shipping containers. So an interesting fact about shipping containers, because it has become quite popular to use shipping containers to build like modular spaces, so much so that people will actually purchase new shipping containers to build.
Trendy.
These are not new. So we've upcycled shipping containers. These, it'd be wonderful to know exactly how many miles they have, nautical miles they have done. But they did come to us after being used for shipping over the sea. So they were cut, placed together, and basically a very important part of being sustainable, very well insulated. So we had Mackenzie Fowler come and create a very well insulated external wall for the entire container. Nordan actually donated all the windows. They are very high quality double glazing. So we were really fortunate to be able to build from scratch, build a center that is really highly energy efficient.
Yeah.
And then as you can see, we're currently heating with our wood stove. And when we did the numbers, it was actually going to be the lowest carbon footprint to have just a really highly efficient wood stove. And we do get wood wood cuttings from Cordoners, actually.
We do, yeah, just down the road. So
they hand that over to us.
It really takes
often.
a village with a certain thing. That's that's the thing. But I mean, even with the shipping containers themselves, by design, it's been designed that this site could be dismantled. It needs to be like, hopefully, it won't need to be, but it's part of the testing phase you were mentioning earlier, right?
So as part of the testing phase, this site is meant to be as low footprint, as low impact as possible. So that means that we're on very, very shallow foundations. We just have some concrete pillars that have been poured, and that's what the shipping containers are resting on. So the day that we need to maybe move this building away, there'll be virtually no footprint left. Also the decking, we've got quite an extensive deck out on the parade level of the battery, and that was put there to expand some outdoor seating and make it comfortable for folk to come around, especially on a nice day, and enjoy the site. That has also been specially built to leave no trace, and it can be moved away. So really, when you start thinking about it, like almost, I would say, well, pretty much every aspect of this project has been thought through really thoroughly to think about our impact on the environment, and also a much wider impact as far as looking to see, to kind of give examples of what we can do, and in some cases finding out, what we maybe can't do just now and what we might like to do in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've covered kind of some of our facilities here, but the one that we've not mentioned, and I think it's probably always the kids' favorite one, but the adults too, if you're honest, it's the toilets that we have on site as well. Even down to that, we've had to think very carefully, very creatively about what we could do on site, because Carol mentioned we're not on plumbing. It's not as simple as just plumbing in some pipes and using a flush. The toilets we have, right?
Yeah,
they're a bit of a different setup as well.
Yes, our woo-woo waterless toilets. They're quite a feature, long-awaited facility for this site. So we have 2 woo-woo toilets there at the car park, and they're actually composting toilets. So they have a whole system that I won't necessarily go into full detail with, but there's a whole system there that allows the waste to be collected, composted, and they're very low maintenance in the sense that we don't have to have a weekly truck coming up to service them. It's maybe once quarterly or even once every 6 months that they need to be serviced. They don't have a smell, which is quite nice. Yeah. And that was really also part of the mission of being very low footprint on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing, again, get people coming up and experiencing our facilities in person, and especially when it comes to the toilets. They're a little bit out with the norm. I think it was you that said you had a kid who came in and used them for the first time and emerged. And what was it that they'd said?
That was wild.
That was wild. I don't think I've ever heard a toilet experience described like that before, but yeah. And again, it goes to show a lot of the things and the systems and the facilities we have on site. They're maybe out with the norm of what people are expecting, but it shows different ways of working, and particularly working in more green fashion that can work and can be facilitated, absolutely. Right?
And even the collaboration that we have with Liberty Kitchen. So Liberty Kitchen operates our cafe, which is open Wednesday to Sunday from 10 to 4. It's really popular. They do lovely coffees, and they bring in cakes from local bakers. And they, as an organization, are very committed to being low footprint and low impact as well. So we do have a challenge that we can't have a dishwasher on site. So we've committed to using all composting food packaging, and we have Keenan's coming to pick up our food waste, so that closes that circle. We also are very attentive that anything that we do serve here has packaging that can be either composted or recycled. So we virtually don't produce any waste for landfill from the cafe here. And that was really important to us as well. Yeah, and that's a big part of the project that you've been working on at the moment, isn't it? Is kind of refining our waste system so it makes it easy to follow and easy to use. So you've got a few different facets on that. Well, it's been really helpful to have partners like Keenan's and also One Stop Waste, who comes and picks up all of our recycling, because they've been really instrumental in helping us understand how that system can work, and then making sure that when we're here on site, that our visitors have an experience of that and understand how that's functioning as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, that kind of covers, it's a whistle-stop tour of the systems and facilities that we have on site. And it's great hearing you talk about them. It sounds like it's been plain sailing and everything has worked at all times. And of course, as with anything new, there's always going to be some teething issues. And yeah, I guess next part we're going to just cover a few of the challenges that we faced in the year and the lessons we've learned from them. Because as ever, with anything, as I mentioned, not everything's going to work perfectly first time round, but the way we took it is we're always testing things here, right? And the systems we're using, you know, some ways are quite new as well, and it's a really great opportunity to be testing these systems and see ways that we can work better and work more efficiently as well. But some of the challenges that we faced, I guess the main one in our early days were the power cuts, right? You know, you'd have people in here enjoying their coffee and then you just hear boom, and the generator would shut down and the lights would go out, the coffee machine would turn off, and we'd have to spend a few minutes getting everything up and running again. And that was basically just because all these systems that Carol's mentioning, they do work sort of independently of each other, but they're all operating off the same power source. So if you think about it as a conversation, you know, they just weren't quite matching up, and you know, we'd use too much of one thing at the same time as another thing, and it would overload our energy system and it would all just cut out. So taking a bit of time to figure out how these things are working in conjunction and making sure that they're all working as a team, I guess, to make sure that they are working
in the same language.
Speaking the same language.
Used to say they need to start speaking the same language. And so we were so fortunate to have all these partners like Pure Water Scotland, like JCE Energy, and also our contractor Graham Sheen. Everybody came together to pull these systems together, but they'd never actually spoken to each other before. So it's been an amazing testing bed for that. And actually, they're very supportive and they're continuously monitoring what's happening here. And I think it's been a very successful year. Those moments of, you know, the lights shutting down and everything kind of rebooting when the cafe was full, I've always felt like they were quite good learning experiences for everybody, because it was like, oh, what's this? What's different? And as far as the data coming in, we'll be able to kind of have a look and analyze all the data over a whole year now to see how the seasonality is functioning and how much energy we're using versus how much energy we're producing, and that's really exciting. We know that in the summer we produced a high amount of energy beyond what we probably were using at that time. And we will be having an upgrade. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really steep learning curve, but a really interesting one, because it's actually, you know, trialing this style of living and hopefully immersing visitors when they come. And
absolutely, like you say, it's a fantastic talking point as well, because, you know, the lights going out, everything flickering, we get a disco in here. It is a great talking point. It serves to remind people how we're operating, and we can educate people on that as well. The data outputs that we have from our people who have helped us out and our partners, we can also use that in our educational program as well. As part of the schools program that we do, we really use the site as an example of operating as an facility. As part of the thing that we do with the kids, we get them to design their own facility, which always brings the most interesting outcomes. We've had some fantastic ideas coming out of that exercise, but being able to use those data outputs really gives us, you know, some grounding in reality for when they're thinking about the facilities that they want to design. We can show them how things might work out throughout a year, and it's been a really useful tool to be able to kind of form that part of the program as well. But yeah, you were saying there as well, you know, about our power upgrades at the moment. So with our cafe setup that we just mentioned, you know, we do have the coffees and we have the cakes, but we'd love to be able to provide, you know, a lunch offering, maybe soups or sandwiches or paninis and things as well. And we are going to be having a power upgrade, so that might be possible very soon. So the thing with solar panels is, of course, they work when the sunlight hits them, and they don't work when it's dark. So at night time, they're not capturing energy. And of course, during the winter, as you just mentioned, we are able to have less of an energy from our solar panels just because we've got the shorter days as well.
And just to clarify, because we do get this question a lot, the solar panels still do produce energy even if it's a cloudy day. Might not be quite as much, but we still can. So as long as there's daylight, they are producing energy. So
absolutely.
We do get that question.
We do,
so
that's
we
it.
might not get as much rain as we'd like. Do we want rain? But I'll take that back, you know, for our water system. But But even if it's cloudy, we do.
Yeah, so of course we get a lot of cloud cover in Aberdeen, and I think, maybe there is the conception there that we won't be able to produce energy when it's cloudy, but as you say, we absolutely are. It's just when it's dark that we're quite limited. But also we have the batteries that you mentioned that are capable of then storing that energy. So the idea is if we have more solar panels, we have more batteries to store the power as well, we'll be able to increase our green energy output, and that'll be more reliable throughout the course of the year as well. So it's not just going to be sort of summertime where we're seeing the best outputs of energy, it'll be kind of more year round and more reliable as well. And then the water collection system as well, you kind of touched on the challenge that we've had there. It's just that it's not that rainy in Aberdeen, believe it or not. You're all going to be looking at us thinking we've gone mad, but actually the rainwater collection system that we offer, it needs to be absolutely torrential, like blowing a hoolie. It really does, for us to be able to collect the water enough to be able to use the water that we have on site. So at the moment, we are having to have some water transported out to site just to top us up. But as ever, it's an ongoing thing, you know. We knew when we started this that it wasn't going to be without its challenges, and it's just another challenge along the road that we're going to be working on to see how we can come up with other methods of collecting water or getting water out onto site. So again, we kind of take all these challenges as an opportunity, don't we?
Absolutely.
Really, you know, like tests us sometimes, but we definitely see the challenges as an opportunity.
And actually, one more thing that I was going to mention as well is our waste sorting on site. So that's a big part of what I'm doing right now, because we were really fortunate to receive funds from the participatory budget from NESCAN. That was very exciting for the just transition. So we received some funds to upgrade all our waste sorting facility on site. So I've been working really hard to create an experience for visitors when they come, so that they can understand exactly what they need to do, which is actually sometimes a bit of a challenge when you're being asked, okay, well, is this cup that I'm holding in my hand, where does it go? Does it go into recycling? Does it go to the compost? What's the right answer there? So we've been working really hard to get all that up and running, and that will be something that will appear on site over the next few months, so look out for that. And also creating a learning experience for people to kind of have that moment of thought and of learning as to what they're doing with the waste that they're encountering here on site. Yeah,
absolutely. And that ties in really nicely kind of with the culmination of this talk. You might have been listening to us and talking through all the challenges that we kind of faced in that first year. You might be sitting to yourself thinking, why bother? Would it not have just been easier to plug into the mains and then all your problems would have been solved? So why are we doing this? So you kind of pulled it in really nicely there. We see it as a really good educational tool, to show ways of working that maybe people hadn't considered, and show that operating with alternative energy sources can be done. But also we kind of want to inspire that positive attitude change, and give people sort of food for thought. So come from the waste, for example, you were saying there, thinking about the sourcing, they can maybe take that home with them then and think about how they're going to be sourcing their waste at home. So that is really kind of what we're aspiring to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and also hopefully demonstrating and showing that it can be done, and hopefully inspiring maybe other organizations to consider how they could change their footprint or build in the way that we're building as well. There's a lot of innovation happening right now, so we're just really excited to be part of that.
Yeah, I think that's us. So if anybody's got any questions, we'd love to hear them.